Still staying with day one of the academic year for 2024, the Northern Areas Education Forum in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape says it is concerned that key issues such as overcrowding in schools have not been resolved. The issue of overcrowding at schools in the northern areas has intensified over the years. Parents have expressed disappointment in the department's failure to find workable, permanent solutions to address the matter. For now, let's speak to our SABC News reporter, Lerato. Fekisi, Lerato, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. Speak to us about the issue around overcrowding and how that issue, for instance, affects the school that you're currently at.
A very good morning to Aldrin. Well, we've actually left the northern areas. We are now in a township called Motherwell, in Motherwell High School. And I heard you speaking about matric results, and we're actually in the class of 2024. And the ratio, according to the education department, is supposed to be 1 to 35. In the class I'm in, Aldrin, now, there are 57 pupils in a grade 12 class. And you can only imagine for yourself how tough that must be for a teacher to try to do the individual attention to pupils when the class is overcrowded. So like I said, there's supposed to be 35 pupils in this class, even actually smaller, because they want to even give an individual attention. But because the issues of overcrowding at the schools here in the township, they are now currently sitting on 57. And the reason why, perhaps, Aldrin, I must explain why there's overcrowding, is that there's been a huge interest now for parents to move their for children away from urban schools to township schools because of the increased matric pass rate and the success thereof in the past couple of years. So now you've seen parents taking their kids from urban areas to townships, and in doing that now crowding the township schools as well. And when we walked in, we saw huge lines of parents still trying to get the kids in. But I'm joined this morning by a grade 12 teacher who will tell us exactly how tough it is on the ground as a teacher to try facilitate teaching in such an environment. Mrs. Landis was speaking earlier on about how challenging it is for a teacher like you to teach 57 pupils and supposed to be actually 30, especially in such a crucial year as grade 12.
It is very difficult. It is very difficult, I don't want to lie, because now you have a class filled with children that you can't be able to control at once. So now you only get to see that when they have written a test or an assignment, then only you are able to see that, okay, there are some individuals that didn't understand. Then now you have to go back and reteach what you taught again. And now that makes us to be fall behind in the syllabus, because now you have to repeat, and then you can't really get to one child at a time because there are a lot in the class, and the noise level is also high. The behaviors of some kids in the class, you can't control it at once, as maybe if it was maybe a smaller number of kids.
And also, you're speaking earlier on, you were doing their timetable. Matric is such a short year. It's not literally about 10 months. We have got to push so much work in such a short space of time. So I can only imagine trying to teach 57 kids in a short space of time and trying to push the curriculum and also still manage to focus on the kids that are struggling.
Yes. So now what other learning areas they do, because I'm only teaching English, so what they do, they get to also have extra classes and also incorporate morning classes, so the kids get to come back to school early so that we can be able to cover up the syllabus. Because in class, really, we can't really do it because the kids are so much, and we can't, as I said, we can't tackle them individually, because obviously they're not the same in terms of their skills and learning abilities. So you need to, there's going to be one or two learners that you have to go to them one by one, and that is time consuming. At times we are unable to do that.
Let me just try to speak to some of the learners as well. I mean, they're grade 12, so I'm sure they can speak on television. So we were speaking earlier on to your teacher about how challenging it is. You guys are supposed to be about 30 in a class, and now you're 57. And how tough is it, especially now in grade 12, where you guys are looking to get good marks to go to varsity, to be in such a huge class with so many pupils?
Well, for me, it ain't tough because I got used to my classmates, and we have an understanding when it comes, when it's time to study, we make sure that we push ourselves to our limits. So all I can say is we're going to have a good class of 2024.
And obviously, you're the class of 2024, looking forward to a good year. Is it challenging sometimes with so many people in the class? I heard earlier on your teacher was saying, please can you keep quiet? I can't keep 57 people quiet at one time. Is that challenging sometimes?
It is not really challenging for me because I have really gotten used to my classmates since last year. But I have to say that it is kind of a problem for some of the teachers, but for me, it really isn't. So I don't really got a problem with it. Yeah,
So you're ready for grade 12?
I am ready for grade 12. I'm actually excited for it.
Awesome. Well, those are two pupils here from Motherwell High School speaking about the fact that it is obviously challenging at times to be in an overcrowded class, but they've had to adapt and they're used to their pupils from last year. But also the teachers just speaking about how it is to try and give individual attention to pupils that are sometimes struggling and how hard it is sometimes to pick up pupils that are struggling when the class is so full. So she's saying that it's going to be an interesting year, but she says what does help is the extra classes after school where they get to be tutored and assisted where they are struggling. First, go back to in studio, Aldrin.
Lerato, not too sure whether you've been able to speak to the education department in the Eastern Cape around infrastructure, especially in that province, which has been a concern for some years now when it comes to sanitation.
We have not been able to speak to them as yet, but I am aware that Aldrin, for the couple of years, the issue of infrastructure has been a problem. Just a couple of minutes ago, we actually at a school, DA Malaba, DA Han Habelgav, which is in the northern areas, and the teachers there were speaking about the issues of toilets which have not been fixed in over a year and how that increases infections, especially among the young girls. So we are going to hear, especially I'm sure as the MEC makes her rounds around the schools and she picks up such issues, what is going to be done to fix infrastructure, because especially within the Transkei areas where you still have some schools that have got pit toilets, you still have broken windows, you still have dilapidated infrastructure, irregular classrooms, and I'm sure as she does her rounds throughout the day, she's going to make an announcement just to say how much money is going to be invested to fix the infrastructure, because if infrastructure is bad, then academic learning cannot happen at all.
Certainly. Thank you so much. Lerato Fekisi there joining us from the Eastern Cape.